Okay, this is the second part of the orientation for fall 2019, MAT135 Graphic Design 1 online. And as a reminder, if you're watching this during a later semester, that just disregard the date. If I'm still using it, it means that the class orientation is still completely relevant. So just ignore the dates and pay attention to the dates that are actually in your current Canvas. Anyway, so we've already gone over the syllabus and we talked about the calendar. So I'm back on the landing page for this class. And if you remember, you get to it by going to the dashboard and then clicking on the MAT135 thing that's in your dashboard. Okay, and so first thing is, if I have recent announcements, they will show up here. I haven't set any announcements up to go out just yet, but they will show up here at the top. You can also click to go to announcements, and they will appear here in a longer list. When you're on the home page, it'll only show, I think, 2 or 3 announcements that are the most current. But if you need to look at an older announcement, you can click here and look at those. And again, over here is my left side navigation that's contextual and specific to this class. So we've already looked at the syllabus, and we could look at assignments. Now, if I click assignments here, it's going to take me to the same, hold on just a second, place that the homepage assignments link will take me. So don't be confused. This link right here I've created so that it takes you to the same place as this link right here. Whatever, it's fine. You can also collapse this hamburger menu so that you've got more space on the screen. And to open it back up, you get the contextual menu. So however you want to do that. Okay, so let's just click on assignments here. Either way, it's fine. And your assignments will show up probably like this for the first time. And right now it's showing by date. And so it says upcoming assignments, and they're going to show in a chronological order. Okay, so it goes all the way down to the bottom, and you'll see that they're organized. Most of them are organized like, P1 class introductions, P1 phase 0, P1 phase 01, P1 phase 02. So as I mentioned before when we were talking in the syllabus about the assignments, is that we have assignment groups. So P1 would stand, for instance, for project 1. And if you see something that says like P1 begin here or P3 begin here or something like that, it means that it's just the group overview, and so you can click it and it gives you an overview of the larger project, because each project contains many sub-assignment projects. So for instance, project 1 has this phase 0, learning to see, and where you're going to be doing some photography in certain categories, and phase 1 is identical scale exploration, where you're doing some studies in Illustrator and so on and so on. All right, and then phase 2 is where you start to modify the scale in those studies, and then you do some other stuff, right? And they're all part of the project 1. Now, if you wanted to see these by type, you can click on up here where it says show by type, and then it'll show you how the weighted grades are and what the groupings for these assignments are. So for instance, there's a category of, I can collapse this, called sharing and participation. So the first introduction that you have to do for the class introduction, by the way, you've got to do it by the first Wednesday of class. So to avoid being dropped from the class. It's like showing up for the first day of an on-ground class. You've got to do this by Wednesday, excuse me, where you make your first post so that you introduce yourself to other people and you can read about who else is in the class. All right, and that's actually worth 1% of the semester grade. Doesn't seem like it's important. However, it's mandatory. I will drop you if you don't do it. As I said, it's like showing up for the first day of class. And then you've got these other things that are going to be sort of like reviews or critiques that are periodic, but these are going to be related. For instance, this one is related to project 1, this one, and this one, these two are related to project 3, but these are discussion boards. That's why they're up under sharing and participation. All right, project 1, these are all assignments that are sub-assignments within project 1. Now, where it says begin here, group overview, you'll see that it doesn't have any point assignment listed down here. That's because I only can see whether or not you've read it. I don't actually have a grade assigned to that. It gives you a larger overview of where you're going with all of these other assignments. But if you wanted to, from any place, like over here, you could click, like I could click here, and it'll take me to the assignment page, right? And then there's a breadcrumb trail that kind of tells you where you're going. So if you wanted to go back to assignments, you could click here, or you could click here, whichever. And this tells you, hey, this is from start to finish. It's the whole project. It tells you the overview and the goals. We'll go over this in just a minute. And it tells you also like the grading breakdown and how the point assignments add up to a larger percentage, like so that all of these sub-assignments in Project 1 completely total up to 100%. Oops, this is wrong. This is supposed to say 30% of your entire semester grade. I'll update that. It used to be 35 in a different semester, but now it's 30. Okay, and then I do a walkthrough video here so that you can have an idea of what to expect for the assignment. You should watch that. I talk about getting your folder structure started and so on, right? And then it has a link down here to go into the first actual sub-assignment where you're going to get a grade, which is phase 0. It's called Learning to See, and it's photography. Okay, so that would be an example of, in this case, a 0-point assignment. It's an assignment. I check to see that you do it, but it's really important that you have an overview of where the whole project is going to go so that you don't sort of get in the weeds with individual sub-assignments. Okay, and so anyway, you could watch this, for instance, and you know, I'm gonna pause so I don't have to listen to my voice, but I can click, you know, to go full screen. And one of the things automatically that I notice by looking at this up here is it says that it's from the 15-week or the late start short term course that I taught in a different semester. And so in this case, you know, like it still says that it was 35% weighted total for the entire semester grade. And so, like I said before, if you see anything like that in a video that clearly it's from a different semester, some of the like grading points may have changed or some little details might have changed. You need to pay attention to what is currently in Canvas this semester. That's the most important thing. Anyway, but like this overview, it goes and you'll see that it's, you know, about 35 minutes long, but it takes you through the entire project and where you're going to go from start to finish. And that's very important in understanding the scope of what you're doing. And then, you know, I will even help you, but I'll say, look, you can download this folder right here, and it's already got like a pre-organized folder structure that you can use so that you don't get lost or confused making your own folders and then they don't match up with mine and stuff like that. Anyway, so this is just the beginning of that, right? So if I could go here to assignments again, and I could look at my assignments, or I could have just gone straight into like phase 0 and say, okay, well, this is the first one that I've got to do, so I can start looking at my assignment. I would suggest though, however, before you do all of this, I'm going to suggest that you go back for a second and take a look at like the weekly schedule. I don't want you to think that this is exactly what you should be doing, which is immediately diving into your assignments. Because the first thing that you really should do is go through the orientation folder or weekly schedule thing, and then go and look at week 1. All right, because if you immediately just start on your assignment and think, okay, well, this is what's graded, that's what's important, I've got to do that right now, then you might miss out on some other things that are actually going to either help you be successful in doing that assignment or other things that were required that you should have been doing before this. Okay, and I outline that. So in all of my weeks. So I'm going to click on the home button, but I did just, you know, I did want to show you where the assignments are because people always want to know that right up front. Okay, so on the home page, you'll see we've got weekly responsibilities, and down here I say class orientation, start here. So that would be the first thing to do. It's highlighted in yellow, all right. And I make a note here that when you click on any links on here, they probably will open up in a brand new browser window, so that all you've got to do is close the other browser window and you're still here for this class orientation. So anyway, if you're new to the Canvas Learning Management System and you want Canvas specific tutorials that are not just about this class, then I would recommend that you click here on this Canvas tutorial page, and there are tons and tons of really good resources that you can go through, okay? You can also go through online ed, like preparation classes that MiraCosta College offers to students. And you should have notices. I dismissed them, but you should have them in your dashboard the first time you go into it for the semester. You should read those notices because a lot of times they'll have links to sign up for free learning sessions and things like that. Okay, this is where the two-part orientation that I'm currently recording is going to be, where it says forthcoming, so you can look there. And I give you some hints on how you can, you know, go full screen, how you can change your settings so that you can speed my voice up. I would always prefer that you speed the videos up than skip through them, because you can speed something up 200% or up to 2 times so that it, you know, a 15-minute video ends up being 7.5 minutes. I'd rather you listen to me sound like a chipmunk, so that if you hear something that you go, whoa, 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 I need to hear that again, you can back it up and slow it down versus just completely missing it altogether. So yeah, anyway, read the syllabus. I've already gone over it, but I want you to read it thoroughly. And here's the student help desk. This is incredibly important. A lot of times you're going to use this during the semester, like if you can't connect to the server or your surf password stops working because you lock yourself out by typing something wrong or whatever. And occasionally what can also happen is, you know, like from your house, maybe you're in an IP address range where some nefarious things were going on and people were trying to break into our server, and you ended up on a blacklist because of activities that somebody else had in your neighborhood or whatever. And so you have to sometimes go to the MiraCosta help desk to help get them to help you reconnect. This is really important on number 4, where it says class introduction post, mandatory. Remember I said you got to do this by Wednesday? If you click here, I'm going to just open this in a new tab, right? But if you click here, it's going to take you to the discussion area where you would say, okay, I'm going to go to class introductions. I need to do that. And then you're going to read these prompts and you're going to follow them explicitly. And you need to make sure you do both parts 1 and 2. Part 1 is what's due by Wednesday night to avoid being dropped from the class. You have to go in and you have to make your initial post that tells the class and me about yourself. And if you like to be called something other than the name that posts automatically through Canvas, like if you go by Matt instead of Matthew, or you know, you go by Susie instead of Susan or Suzanne or whatever it happens to be, you need to tell us that by putting your name at the top. I like for you to do that so that I know exactly what you want to be called. Okay, and part 2 would be making sure that you come back by Sunday night of the first week and responding to people, right? So that you can have interactions with people, right? So that's the first thing that you must do. And I'm just going to hit the back button because it took me into a rabbit hole of discussions, right? And actually, I opened that in a new tab, so I'll close that. All right, and it says what is graded in this course, and then I go over that, and here's the current grading. It's also in the syllabus as well. And this is where I also talk about, you know, how major projects have sub-assignments, and those sub-assignments, they add up to be 100 points, which is then weighted at a certain percentage for the entire semester grade. For instance, Project 3 has, I think, 4 sub-assignments. Project 1 has, I think, 6 sub-assignments. And even though I start counting at 0, like phase 0 through phase 5, I wasn't trying to be clever. I literally just changed some stuff, and I didn't want to have to change all the phase numbers, so I just added phase 0. Okay. These things are not graded, but they're incredibly important. Reading assignments and mandatory lectures and demos. And then I want you to review due dates for graded work. You can do that by visiting the calendar, which I showed you. You can look at assignments, which I showed you. You can also look at the bottom of the Canvas syllabus page, which I also showed you. Even though we're going to be uploading all of our work to the MAT server to turn it in, there might be occasions where your connection is too slow or Canvas is too slow or whatever, and it won't upload your work to Canvas. A lot of times it's because your file is too big. If that should happen, you can either put it in Dropbox or something like that, like your Google Drive, and share it with me. But what's better, if if you can swing it, is if you um, connect to our server. We'll have server space for MAT135, and it's called mat.miracosta.edu, and there are explicit instructions here on how to do that. You connect to it using your surf password and user ID, and you upload your files through FTP, or SFTP, and you would just then let me know that it's on the server if you couldn't upload it. All right, you got to make sure you get the textbooks and get the software, and if you're done with everything, then go ahead and you can go to where it says week 1 responsibilities, right? And this is how I have every week set up, where it's got a thing that says due this week, and I tell you by which night of the current week. And if you're not sure what the current week is, it tells you up here. The current week is, you know, August 19th through August 25th or whatever. And then if you realize, oh, I'm not in the right week, you can jump by clicking to week 2, to week 3, and so on. Okay, but let's go back. Let's just go back home really fast, and I'm going to show you how you can get to the weeks from the landing page of our class, which is right here. You can jump to any current, based on the date or whatever, any current week. In this case, we've already looked at the orientation. Let's look at week 1 and see what we are responsible for. All right, it tells me, hey, this is due by Wednesday night. That means that you shouldn't wait until Wednesday to start, okay, most of the time. So you can kind of make your plans based on this. And I say, okay, but due by Saturday night, due by Sunday night. All right, these are hard due dates, usually almost always for things that are graded, okay? When I say due by whatever night, up here where it says due this week, almost always there might be like one occasion where it's not something that's actually for a grade on that due date, but almost always it's going to be because it is due for a grade on that day, right? But if you come down here where it says this week's important benchmarks, all right, that means this is what you should be doing to keep up, right? There are a lot of other things outside of just going to, the assignment page and just trying to tackle the assignment. There might be important lectures that I tell you to watch. There might be readings. There might be that kind of stuff that are important. So you need to look down here where it says this week's important benchmarks. And I will tell you, do this week's responsibilities in this order. All right, and that is a way to help you organize your time. You can do them out of order if you want, but there's a reason that I suggest that you do them in the order that I give them to you, and it's to help you be the most successful you can be. All right, so by Wednesday night, you need to complete that orientation and buy the software. All right, you also by Wednesday night need to make that initial post on that class introductions form. Also by Wednesday night, you need to watch this lecture that's about an hour long. It's called What is Graphic Design? And it's an intro to this class that I think is very important, and it'll help you understand what my philosophy is, and where I'm going to take this class and where you're going to go with this class in a lot of ways, okay? And it helps you understand like basically what graphic design is and what it is not, right? And so by Saturday night, you'll do all the readings that are down here where it says this week's readings, like that, okay? So that means that you have to get your book right away. And this book, unfortunately, is not free anywhere that I know of, so you need to buy that book. And then by Sunday night, you need to make sure that you respond to your classmates in this class introductions thing, and then that's intro work, right? Then you begin project 1, right? And then I'm going to tell you, hey, look at this assignment group overview right here, right? And then you're going to start the very beginning sub-assignment of project 1, which is called Phase 0, Learning to See Photography. And this is a lot of work, this class, so don't be surprised. It moves quickly. You see that this assignment that we start by Sunday night, it's already due at the end of week 2. Okay, so it moves quickly. You've got to go out and shoot like 45 photographs. You have to organize them using software that might or might not be new to you. And you have to create some, you know, a bunch of images that are square and color corrected and things like that. And you're going to learn how to do that all by the end of week 2. All right, even if you've never used the software before. Okay. Okay, and then at the bottom of each week, I'll usually try to put an index of the learning resources. Almost always they're pulled from up here, but sometimes, you know, like if you know that you need to find something and you don't want to read through everything, you can come down to the bottom and go, wait, where was that thing? And then you could find it here. Again, the orientation video is what I'm recording right now. Okay, and then let's say that you finish with that current week and you're ahead of schedule, or you just want to see what's going on next week so you can prepare. Especially like if it's Sunday night, it's a good idea to click over here to next and see what the next week holds so that you can get an idea of what your week's going to look like. All right, it means that we've got a graded assignment due on Sunday of week 2. It's that thing called Phase 0, Learning to See. And then if I clicked on this, right, I'm going to do this in a new tab, but if I clicked on this, it would open up the actual assignment page. It tells me what the point value is, and it basically it's 25% of the entire project 1 total, right? And that tells you what the topics are, you know, what are some of the tools that you're going to use. I go through the point breakdown. I tell you all the steps. I have instructions and demo tutorials. These are organized a lot of times into playlists. So like this particular one has 2 different videos in the playlist for this demo. Okay, and you just close it like that. If you want to, you know, play it, I'm just gonna hit pause. You can make it full screen, and then you get, that's when you get to the settings, and you can change the playback speed to twice as fast, or however you want to do it, right? You can also look at it in YouTube if you click this little button down here, and so on. Okay, so you need to go through all of these instructions like really, really carefully. If you want to look at former student examples, you can click on these PDFs and take a look so that you have an understanding kind of where you're going to go with this. Templates that are necessary for your assignment right here. Okay, and then I give you some information about like how I'm going to be grading this. Okay, all right, and so that's the assignment page. You can go back to where it says week 1. And I tell you, you know, like, hey, by Monday night, if you haven't already done this, read the entire outline. It's the page I just showed you. You would read through that whole thing carefully. And then, you know, do the assigned readings that are below, which means down here. Okay, as a suggested production timeline, or it might look like this. All right, so by Monday night, you would do the first step. Like if you click on this, what it's going to do is it'll take you to the beginning. Oh, actually, it didn't do that. It should have. Here, let's do this where it says steps. Let's try step. Let's do steps 2 and 3. If I click on that, oh, it's not working properly. Okay. Well, anyway, it takes you to the page. What you would do is you would come down here where it says steps, and you would do like steps 1, or you do steps 2 and 3, and so on. Okay. For some reason, it's not working in Safari. It was working earlier. Anyway, and then, you know, I have some more tutorials about how you can complete this, and I go on with the timeline. And so it helps you keep track of, like, you know, which days you should hopefully be in which place of the assignment, right? So that you don't get too far behind and underestimate the amount of time. And I usually will try to tell you what the runtime is for different video tutorials so you can do your planning and so on. Okay, and so that's how you're going to get started with this class. And if you go back to the home page, the other thing too that's important there is is my contact information. So if you call me in my office, most likely I'm not going to be there, but what it does do is it'll send me an email with your voicemail attached as a little audio file so that I can hear you if you call. Also, you can email me. I check my email all the time. I do not check my phone, but as I said, this phone number will go into my email with a message. And then if you want to see your grades, you can click on grades right here. and it will take you to the grading for the class, and you'll see here on the left it's got the name of the assignment, the due date. It'll tell you the status, and if there's a score, if I've graded it, there will be a score, and out of how many things, out of how many points. And I usually will do it in a percentage. So here's the thing, is that if I leave comments over here, there will be like a little comment bubble attached that you can click on and read the comments. If you see comments, you should read the comments, because a lot of times I will tell you what you need to do to improve. And one of the reasons we do these large projects and a lot of these iterative sub-assignments is because I expect that if I give you feedback to improve something, that you'll go back and improve it. I will increase your grade if you do that. The other thing about it is that if you don't go back to improve it, and the next step relies on that artwork that you did not improve, then that's also going to affect the next steps phase. That's the whole point of getting feedback, is that it creates this, this like interactive cycle of improvement. All right, and so that you make something, you review, you get feedback, you go back, you improve it, you go back through a review process, and so on. And so it's also the reason why it's incredibly important to keep up in this class. And I will tell you, it's easy to fall behind. There's a lot of work, right? And but you will learn a lot by the end, and you'll have some really good portfolio work if you apply yourself and make sure that you try to do your best to keep up with the timeline, right? And so yeah, and so that's pretty much it. That's the primary set of things that I wanted to share with you about this class. And the only last little thing is that where it says conferences right here, if I were to go to conferences, like if I tell you, hey, we need to set up some office hours, first of all, I'll probably send you a link to connect to a Zoom session, but if you lose it or whatever, you can also go here to conferences, and it'll show up. I'm in a fake student account right now, so nothing is showing up here, but you would see something, I promise. The other thing too is there's this Zoom tutorial, conference tutorial reference that I have. If you want to watch it, but I will tell you right off the bat, Zoom is incredibly intuitive to use, super easy, it's fast, it's great. So, if you want to just give it a shot for the first time before spending time watching this goofy thing, that's fine. It's really easy to use. Okay, so that'll do it. And first thing, as a reminder that you need to do, go to our landing page, go to the class orientation, read through it yourself, and then immediately get started by going into week 1 and doing the things in the order that I suggest. And let me know if you have any questions. Okay? All right. I look forward to a great semester with everybody. Cheers.